Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
This is a hardcore grind interview with the dynamic author, Lissha Dodson. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your time, your space, and your energy with me. Now, I always like to start out with a go moment because I always like to know about people's why. And a go moment is really when thought and execution come together. A lot of times when it's things that we want to do or we should be doing, we think about it multiple times before we actually do it, right? But when it comes to other people, we're really mindful about how they move and pour into themselves, and when it comes to ourselves, it's a little lack there. So what was your goal moment when you decided to say, okay, I'm going to do this author thing. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to put it out. I'm all in. What was that moment like?
Okay, so that moment for me was, I had two of those moments. The first one was I kind of got started writing and putting myself out there by writing fan fiction for the popular 80s TV show Remington Steele.
Ooh!
Myself. So I always loved that show, and it's like one of my favorites. And so I stumbled across fan fiction for those characters. And so you know how we do. After you read a few of them, you're like, oh, I could do that. So that is kind of how I got started with, creating stories based on those characters and posting those online, creating a website, all of that stuff. That's kind of how I got started. How I got to be published outside of that was I went to a writer's conference. I went to Romance Slam Jam in the early 2000s, and it was like a weekend. I lived in Illinois at the time. I had small kids. And then I just stumbled across this writers conference for a weekend in Raleigh-Durham. And so I was like, oh, I want to go to that. And so everything just aligned for me to go. God is never waste a moment. But everything worked out for me to be able to go to that. And so I went, met some incredible authors. I'm still friends to this day with a lot of them. Got some great sage advice from a lot of the veterans in romance, like Donna Hill and the late L.A. Banks, Gwen Forster, Beverly Jenkins, just the who's who, the cornucopia of novelists at the time, and still now, actually. And so I ran into a friend of mine who writes Christian fiction, Pat Simmons, and she just said, we ran into each other as she was coming out of an interview where she had pitched the story idea to a publisher. And I literally ran into her when she came out, and she was like, Lissha. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you want to write a book with me? And I'm like yeah. And
like I'm going to say no.
Right. And so Pat has like a journalism background. She worked at a TV station, so she's used to, broadcasting, and she was just like, come on. So she literally drags me behind her, and we go and we find Perry Ebony Satin Brown. And Pat had did a radio interview with her, so Pat was familiar with her. I was not. And so she kind of pitched the idea to Perry, and Perry said yes, because the publisher was like, we love the story idea. We want to make it an anthology, and we want it to be, 3 authors. You need a veteran author, and then you need another unknown author like you. And so you guys go, and we all had to go our separate ways and write a story that was going to go in this anthology. And the common theme throughout all the stories was you had to write about a blind date. And the anthology was called Love is Blind. And so it was a play on that, Blind Date. And so each of us had a different story to tell. Pat, of course, with her radio show background, her story was about characters that found their way to each other through a radio show. Perry wrote about internet dating. And me, always having to throw a monkey wrench in something, I wrote about a guy that owns an art gallery. Not an art gallery. About a guy whose mother was a matchmaker, and she was always trying to match him up. She was always trying to get him married. And so he ends up standing up his blind date to show his mother and fix her for good. And it just goes horribly wrong because his best friend ends up going to break the date for him and finds the love of his life. And so now he has to figure out how he is, unbeknownst to him, he has assumed his best friend's identity, found the love of his life, and now he's got to figure out what to do next. So that's kind of how I got started with a publishing contract with a traditional publisher. So you just never know how things are going to shake out and when, opportunities will present themselves. So I always encourage people to go to these writers' conventions and definitely surround yourself with like-minded people, because you never know when it could be a second where you go from an aspiring author to a published author.
You are absolutely right. And I'm glad that you said that. I need you to say it one more time for the people in the back so that they are clear on what they heard. Because listen, it's about talent, but it's also about who you know and who you're connected to. A lot of times when people are branding, they have that saying, you protect your brand at all costs. You have to protect who you have around you, and there has to be a purpose. Like, y'all have to be building and moving. It just can't just be us sitting here like, what is our purpose? What we are connected. What are we going to do? We about to make the devil mad. What are we going to do? And sometimes when you get with the right people, they're like, listen, come on. You coming with me, and we're going to do this. So that's an awesome, awesome experience. Now, a Black woman that can write is powerful. What does that power mean to you?
Well, like any good superhero, you have power, but with power comes responsibility. And so for me, it's a little bit more than just writing about what's in my heart, what's on my mind, what's in my soul. I always want to make sure that, as your grandma, your mom used to say, you represent well. And so I wanted to make sure that my stories represented me and my background and my family well. I wanted to make sure that I was writing the best type of characters that I could write. I always was mindful that I don't want to be male bashing. So I was always aware that I wanted to write characters that were brought together by love, by mutual respect, by a strong sense of family, and that didn't bash people. I wanted to write about positive people doing positive things in life, and so that was important to me. So I wanted to make sure that when I used the voice that I had, and now it's out there on various platforms, that I am always telling the best story I can tell, always making sure it's a positive read and not negative, and that anybody can read. So I wanted to make sure that it had international appeal.
I love it. I love it. Now, I want you to describe your pen in 5 words.
Okay, so my pen is usually going to be where danger meets romance.
Okay.
Because I love writing about romantic suspense. And, I mean, I've written in various genres before: contemporary, clean romance, sweet romance, Christian fiction and nonfiction. But romantic suspense, probably tie that into my Remington Steele days. Romantic suspense is my passion. I love writing to put danger and intrigue and throw romance in the mix. That's my pen.
I love it. Now, I always ask that question, right? Because a lot of times when I meet people and I ask them, what is your passion? They're like, I don't know. You know, what do you admire about yourself? I don't know. They never really, we spend so much time thinking about other people. We never really, really think about really tooting our own horn and knowing and appreciating our own gifts. So I asked you, what do you admire the most about your pen?
Wow, that's a really good question. What I admire most about my pen is that it touches people's lives, and there's nothing, I think, more exciting and more humble to me than when somebody says, Lissa, I read a book of yours, I read a story. Either I couldn't put it down, I lost sleep, I didn't want to put it down till I finished, or your characters, something resonated within your characters in me that I can identify with. I can see myself doing that or saying that, or hey, I was thinking that and didn't even think anybody else could kind of capture that. That is really what I love most about it, and the fact that it's indistinguishable. It will never. My pen will never stop working because it's in me. It's ingrained in me. I have to write, whether it gets published or not. That is a passion of mine. It's a spiritual gift of mine. And I always tell people, your passion is, what would you do if you still had to do it even if you didn't make money doing it? That is your passion. That is what you were put here to do. And so do it wholeheartedly. Do it because you have to. It's just something you have to do, like breathing. And for me, that's writing.
I love it. But how does your creativity flow? I know I love Lynn Remington Steele, Scarecrow, and Mrs. King. Listen, you already talking my talk, honey. You are talking my talk because I'm like, yes, that's what you look. Moonlighting, I love it. Oh, I'm here for it. But how does your creativity flow?
So, I didn't know until recently that I'm actually a pantser. You've got people that are very strategic about how they tackle a story. You've got people that like to storyboard it out or write it all out, get like little cards and just do things that way. A lot of structure. That's not me. I do outlines because I have to, because it's essential when you're trying to figure out the chapters and what comes next, and you're going to be doing a proposal, you're going to be pitching a story idea. So those are necessary evils to get that done. But as far as how my creativity works, it works when I sit at my laptop and the muse just takes over and the words flow out of me, through my fingers, onto the page that I have open on Word. And some people can write by, they have to have a notepad, they have to have a pen, their favorite pen, their favorite pad. I find, or some people dictate what they're going to be writing. But for me, I am the most creative when pen is touching paper or fingers are touching a keyboard. I have to get it out that way.
I love it. And there's nothing wrong with being a pantser. Listen, my mom passed in 2016, and that was my first experience with anxiety. And as time had gone on, I've learned that anxiety can be triggered by two things: what could go wrong and what could go right. And I've been in many positions and situations where it's a what could go right type thing. And I get this, panic. So it's like, being a parent, nothing wrong with that. That's a way for you to de-stress when you are, I believe, focused on being the greatest at that moment. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with that. You need to be able to be calm so that you can have a calm mind, body, and spirit. Because as a reader, I can always tell if an author's pen is rushed, if their thoughts are scrambled, because it comes out. Everything comes out. Outside of your emotion, if you are rushing a scene, it's going to show. Because we're going to see this is rushed right here. Well, she's just trying to get this together. If you didn't really get your thoughts together or your mind is scrambled, you start rambling. Then it's like, wait here, she got going on right here. So readers can experience all of your emotions because they're pouring out through your pen. And you have to be at the best possible relaxation point that you can be in to be able to get what you got to get out to them. Now,
and I think with
go ahead.
Well, with that, really quick, I was just going to say, and you have to be true to you and how you function. You can't, it's like how other people do things is if it's different than how you do it, you got to stick with how best you function, how best you work. And that's going to look different than every other author out there. I mean, everybody's got a thing that they do that works for them and makes sense for them. And not just in author, when you're an author in writing, but in life. So you really have to do what you do that works for you, because that is when you are, being your most authentic. That is when you have the highest probability of being able to complete whatever task you have set yourself to. And so you really just have to figure out how you work, how you function, and then do that.
Absolutely. Now, you've written over 19 novels. You write for 2 publishers, Harlequin, Kensington. You have a life. How do you balance everything? How do you prevent yourself from burning out? Because that's a lot going on. When you're writing, you got 2 different commitments. Then you have to make sure you're better than the last book you put out. That's always the first thing in your mind. How do you balance everything?
Well, for me, it's kind of difficult because, again, I'm a pantser, so I am not the kind of person that, I don't have a huge calendar on the wall. I probably should, where I have everything written out. I have, my calendar is on my phone, so anything that I've got going on is going to be on my phone. But it's difficult for me because I have a full-time job, so I don't write full-time. So I have to get that in where I can. And I'm not a morning person, so you won't see me up at the crack of dawn being all productive and whatnot. I'm throwing myself out of bed because I don't sleep too well. I got to go to the bathroom a couple of times. So I got to set my alarm clock an hour early before I have to actually get up. I need to lay there for a minute in my moment. Right, so I'm just everywhere. So I write where I can, and then at nighttime, it's like, okay, well, if you're not productive in the morning, Lissa, then you need to be productive at night. Well, guess what? Now I've had a full day of work. I'm tired. Netflix is calling me, so it's just a hot mess.
I love it, and I get it, okay? I get it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. So as I say often, sometimes life gets in the way of creative genius. So you just gotta get it in where you can. And it's kind of like when you're trying not to, fall off the wagon on whatever, diet you're on, or you're supposed to be doing good. And it's like, you know what? Tomorrow's another day. Don't beat yourself up over it. There is tomorrow, unless you're on a deadline. And then, unfortunately, you have to be nose to the grindstone and you don't get a lot of sleep and you are a little frazzled because you have to do what you have to do. But, I tend to try not to beat myself up too much about it. And I find time to write where I can. On the weekends are good. I've kind of tried to alter my schedule a bit so I'm not completely busy at all. Every single day I'm loaded up with stuff. So there are lulls where I can get more writing done on some days than I can others. And so I just try to just keep at that instead of just going, I'm going to go watch TV.
I love it. Now, you are one of the authors that's part of the Cavalcade Free Book Fest. Tell us about the book that you will be giving away free, 6 Days to Live. What can readers expect?
Well, the book that I'm giving away for that isn't 6 Days to Live. That's with Harlequin. And so they're like, girl, you ain't giving away that book for free. But
think again.
Right. I am giving away Spicing Things Up, and that is part of the Everything Nice series. And so that's book 2 in the Everything Nice series. And so that is about, it's another romantic suspense, and it's set in Outer Banks in North Carolina at an amazing couples-only resort. And so I'm pretty excited about that story. I love writing about just characters. This is going to be kind of like a second chance at romance type of trope. So they have history, and they work in a detective agency, and so they're partners, but they also used to have a relationship that kind of just went off the rails. And so this is kind of like a rekindling of, this is just like a continuation, a to be continued of the romance that they started before.
I love it.
It's called Spicing Things Up.
Y'all hear that? Spicing Things Up. Now, Little Birdie also told me that you have a book that's out for pre-order right now, The Bodyguard's Deadly Mission. Okay, so I'm book bougie. I'm book bougie, and I never used to say that, but I claim it, okay? I claim being book bougie. It has to be a title that grabs me, like your title, your synopsis, that's all eye candy, because, you know, everybody like a little eye candy.
Right. Well, and, you know, you have a short amount of time to hook a reader. You got, like, seconds. Your book cover, I think it's like, in about 20 seconds, a reader can determine whether or not they're going to pick up your book, whether they're going to flip it over and start reading the back, and whether they're going to buy it. So you really have to have a title that draws them in, and you have to have that back of the book blurb, as they call it, that really just hooks that reader in a short amount of time. And so I hope that I do that well. Sometimes I need some help, and God bless those editors. That's where they come in. So it's on pre-order. It's coming out January 23rd, 2024, available for pre-order now, and it's called The Bodyguard's Deadly Mission. And just a real quick tagline for that is, she wants to protect women, he needs to protect her.
Oh, stop it. I'm excited. Make sure you tag me when that comes out. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Now, you've accomplished so much in your literary journey. A publicist, a radio host, author, content editor. And that causes you to be an inspiration to so many. Now, what advice would you give those up-and-coming authors that see you move and they're reading your books and they're like, oh, yes, this could be me, but I feel, what advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, the advice that I would give is write what's in your heart. Don't focus so much on what's the big thing right now. Vampires are big, so I got to go write vampires. Oh, now, you know, Westerns are big, so I got to go write Westerns.
Right.
Then, you know, don't get caught up in chasing that
trend,
that genre or that trend. You really have to write the story that's in your heart, that's been pressing on you, that's been knocking you upside the head at all hours to get out and get on paper. And don't focus so much, because I've heard readers say, well, you know, I'm not really good at editing. I'm not really good at grammar. Guess what? Neither am I. And that's what editors are for, because they are the ones that polish your book. Your biggest job as an aspiring author and an author is to get the story on paper. That is your job. Other people can tweak it and make it wonderful and sing and all of that stuff and glow in the dark. Your job is to actually get the story from page 1 to page the end onto paper. And so another thing that I recommend for aspiring authors is please, y'all, please surround yourself with like-minded people. A publishing contract is not going to come knocking on your door. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? A publishing contract. No, boo-boo. You got to go get the publishing contract. And how you do that is you go to writers' conventions like Romance Slam Jam, book lovers. You associate yourself with people. Get in writers' groups. Get in critique groups. Get online. You can find them on, Facebook. All you got to do is Google groups, writing groups and stuff like that in the genre that you want to write in. So you have to be surrounding yourself with people that write what you love to write. What you love to read could be sometimes different than what you love to write. But you still need the support because it's very easy. I'm an introvert, so I'm very happy in a corner somewhere with a laptop chilling. But, as opposed to getting out there and meeting people and talking to other people, telling them things, learning, and that takes work. And so I would encourage folks to just write what's on their heart, surround yourself with like-minded people. Don't get caught up in, this doesn't sound like so-and-so's. You have to write the story that you were born to write, however that looks for you.
That's good stuff.
And
that is good stuff.
If you get rejected, don't worry. Someone will love the story that you have to tell. So, no, while no is a full sentence, it should not stop you in your tracks and have you throw in the towel. So you just have to stay diligent because you never know when that no is going to turn into a yes. So you owe it to yourself to just keep at it. There's always someone that is going to be thrilled with your story and love your voice, and you owe it to yourself to find that person at that publishing house or self-publish and just get it done.
I love it. I love it. And for those that want to connect with you, can you shout out your social media for me?
Sure. You can definitely connect with me at LissaDodsonBooks.com. I am on Instagram, Lissa Y. Dodson, Facebook, Lissa Y. Dodson, and definitely I would love to connect with you all. I'm on Goodreads. You can go on my website and download to get a free book, to sign up for my newsletter, find out what I'm up to, and I answer every connection that someone sends me. So definitely avail yourself of that, people, because I would love to hear from you.
I love it. Well, I thank you for sharing your time, your space, and your energy with me. You are welcome back anytime. I want you to have a great rest of your night.
Thank you so much, Lissha. I really appreciate it. You are fabulous, and I will be definitely shouting you out when the book comes out, and can't wait to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.